beautiful people, and welcome to Sacred Solaris. My name is Samantha and I'm coming to you very au naturel, not a spot of makeup, but sometimes I think that that's really important to show up authentically as myself. And in today's video, it's a part of a series on the pagan festivals and the Wheel of the Year. So if you haven't already checked out the few that I've got up already, I have a playlist on my channel. So grab yourself a cup of tea if you would like, get cozy, and we're just going to be talking. Today is not going to be about history. It's not going to be about the traditional celebration, because depending on where you live, what hemisphere of the world you're from, depending your ancestry, your culture, your personal history, you're all going to have a different connection. You're all working on a different land. Some may be in a swampy environment, some in the snow, some in the desert. So how can we all connect to the traditional correspondences and it's important to know folklore, but it has to be relevant. There's no point in being told you have to burn mistletoe and juniper and pine if around you those trees are not abundant, they're not native. And so you might be going and having to source these things when what is the same energetic property that those correspondences hold, but it is native to you, it is abundant to you wherever you are on the world. So that to me is the most important thing about living in a different part of the world that traditional celebrations are celebrated, if that makes sense. Because as an Australian, I definitely have struggled to grasp how to be a pagan down here because it's so different to, reading traditional books on Wicca and paganism and celebrations, because we don't have those things growing. We live in a different part of the world. So the energy of Imbolc is ushering in spring. It is the first sign that the light is returning because we're still sitting in winter. So Imbolc ushers in a time and a reminder that spring is coming, and often there are a lot of baby animals, like the first lambs traditionally were starting to be born around here. So it's kind of associated with fertility and the hearth, and the goddess Bridget is celebrated this time. But again, I don't want to go into all the big folklores because that information is so easily available if that speaks to you. I want to talk about how I celebrate and encourage you to develop your own connection to it. Imbolc is one of the 4 kind of fire festivals in the pagan year. It is called a cross-quarter day for some because it is directly kind of in between the solstice and the equinox portal. It means that we're heading towards the spring equinox. We're heading towards that way. Normally they're celebrated with fire, with a feast, that sort of thing, looking at what we're grateful for, getting through the winter. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel, if that makes sense. The image that I get in my mind when I think about this time of year is the goddess in the underworld, with her hearth, though, so flames and fire under the ground, keeping her warm while she's in the underworld. And as Imbolc approaches, she punches the earth and starts clawing her way out to bring the sun and bring the fire and the ignition back to our lives. Imbolc is a perfect time to start planting new seeds. These seeds can be physical, as in growing new crops, planning out what it is that you want to grow in the earth, but also what are the seeds in your life? What are the new beginnings that are unfolding? And if you don't have any new beginnings at the moment, or you can't understand, you may still be in a form of letting go and releasing in your life, but soon there will be new beginnings. And maybe I could ask you, if there were some new seeds to sprout, what would you want them to be? What do you want to change in your life and see grow and manifest in the next coming months? The first thing I always tell people to do when you're mapping out a Sabbath or a celebration is to create a vision board, because it allows your thoughts, your feelings to come through visually, and you can have a living representation of the energy that you're trying to comprehend, you're trying to understand. Purification is another word that I really think of this time of year. Getting rid of anything that's holding us back and cleansing our environment, our bodies, our auras, and our spirits as we step forward into the next season that is coming. candle magic and fire magic is so powerful for Imbolc. So when you create a candle, if you don't have the wick and the soy wax and all the stuff, all the hoopla, don't worry about it. Go and buy yourself a candle. Get your oh my god, why can't I think of this word? Get your lighter. Like, why didn't I think of that word? Get your lighter and warm the wax on the surface of the candle. Oh, well, before that too, I would probably sit with the candle, leave it outside under the sun for an hour and then maybe under the moon for a night, and start working your energy into the candle. Then with the lighter, melt a little bit of the wax on the top of the surface, and that's when you can start popping your crystals on the top and putting your herbs and things that correspond with the energy of Imbolc for you, and then on the day, light it. Have your feast, sit intentionally with food and with your candle and connect with the energy. A really big part of connecting and finding your own innate connection with this energy is have a think about the things in your life that correspond with new, with dawn, new beginnings, and growth. So think about animals, because obviously the traditional sort of side of Imbolc was celebrated in Europe, other places as well, but around Europe. So their animals that they have in Europe are completely, in the UK, completely different to Australia, South America, everywhere else in the world, you know what I mean? So think about what represents new for you, new beginnings. I think about kookaburras this time of year. And hold on, I need to go get a kookaburra feather. So I have my little kookaburra feathers here. These are from the tail of the kookaburra. And this is what I think of. I think of the bird of dawn, the bird of the new beginnings. Kookaburras sit in the trees, and as just before the dawn kind of comes, they sing their laugh out. And I hope I can find one to insert here for you, because kookaburra medicine is about calling in the new day, which is very much what Imbolc's about, seeing the light again and laughing in joyous occasions, joyous celebrations, heading towards the spring equinox and the new beginnings. There's plenty of other animals and creatures. I don't really want to project all of my things onto you. Maybe, in my Patreon, I do like to share a lot more in depth of my process on things, but I want you to create your own connection with the day and your own list of correspondences, because at the end of the day, like when I first started on my spiritual path, especially because I consider myself pagan, I used to sort of follow the Wiccan faith, and now I'm just very all over the shop. I am very open-minded, and I just live a very, I just welcome in everything now. I don't need any labels or words to wrap me up in a box. But the thing is, it's so easy to feel like you're studying for a test. It's so easy to feel like, you need to know all these things like written in a book and, someone's going to test me on it. Like, no, fuck the books, mate. So think about your trees that maybe in your local area or in your country come out and start to bloom, that start getting their leaves and their flowers around Imbolc. For me, again, I don't want to share too much. I don't want to project too much because I want you to create your own, but I think about wattle. So Australian wattle flowers at the end of winter and the beginning of spring. And they're these beautiful, I'll put images here, but they're these beautiful little fluffy balls of yellow blooms. And to me, they just symbolize the sun and light returning, and they're just so magical and pure and sweet. And I just love them so much. Now, a lot of you know that I am a doll maker. I create spirit dolls. They are needle felted woolen dolls. And so one of the correspondences that I very much do resonate with for Imbolc is the correspondence of sheep and lamb, because it is a symbol of new life and rebirth and renewal. These dolls are made completely out of sheep's wool that has been dyed, and so for me, being a woolen artist, holding sheep's wool and creating and birthing new dolls around Imbolc is such a special time for me. So I would encourage you to think about crafts and things that you can get your hands into. Creating and tapping into your creativity is such a powerful form of expression and release. And so even if it's just grabbing some watercolor paint and a paper, if it's crocheting and knitting, they're using wool, which is perfect for Imbolc, being that it's with sheep and all those sorts of things. But it could be anything: clay, sculpture, it might be music, playing drums, playing the flute, playing anything. Sound healing is so powerful as well. So I would really encourage you to think about crafts that you can create, things you can use your hands, because our hands are portals of energy. And when we sit down and allow that creative energy to flow through us, it is a form of channeling as well. A lot of artists don't realize that they are meditating while they're creating, So meditation and connecting with spirit doesn't always have to be sitting and doing breath work in silence. Gardening, getting our hands busy. I would really recommend that as this sort of energy unfolds for Imbolc. I'm just here to advocate for people who feel slack and bad, because years ago, I literally did nothing on these sacred days because I felt like what I was doing wasn't enough. I felt like I needed to be this perfect aesthetic human. And life is not an aesthetic, okay? Life is not Instagram. So you can't walk around thinking that everything that you do is going to be picture perfect. Life is messy. Your celebration, your Sabbath might be messy, and that's okay. You don't have to be perfect and composed and Instagrammable all the time, okay? I just want you to connect, and that's what's the most important thing for you: to connect with spirit, to connect with your soul, and connect with the energy of the sacred day. That's why I want to share this. I want to share just inspo, and I wish that 6 years ago I had someone to say, don't stop looking at that book and stop looking at Instagram and trying to be perfect, okay? Just do it. Just connect. That's all that matters. Don't hold yourself back and don't self-sabotage and have imposter syndrome. Just do it. So I really hope that you have enjoyed today's video. It is a very just quick and lighthearted, because I've got lots of things going on in my life and I was literally not going to film this. And then I thought, you know what? I would rather show up lightheartedly, authentically, with no makeup, and give something than to just hide and retreat and give nothing because I want it to be perfect. And that is really big medicine for me at the moment, is just being consistent and showing up even if it's not perfect, because life's not fucking perfect and no one's perfect, okay? So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you enjoy Imbolc, going outside and meditating, but also doing some divination this time of year, because it is like the new year. We're heading into the new. So sit down with your tarot, oracle cards, your runes, your bone throwing set, whatever it is that you use to divinate and to connect with spirit. Why don't you do a reading for yourself just to see what the new year, what the new energy has in store for you. Thank you for being here. You can see everything that I'm up to on Instagram, Sacred Solaris. You can go to my website, sacredsolaris.com, to book in with me, to look at my spirit dolls, all those sorts of things. And I'm making weekly videos, so I'll see you next week. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment, leave a like. I want to hear from you, and tag me on things in Instagram if you end up creating something for Imbolc. I want to see your celebrations if you feel inspired. Have a great day. I'll see you next week.